You sit down to study or finally work on that project you've been putting off. 5 minutes in, you're somehow watching random videos instead. The worst part, the internet convinced us it's because of dopamine. If you spend any time in the self-improvement space, you've probably heard someone tell you to do a dopamine detox, but many of those videos oversimplify what dopamine actually does, and misinformation gets clicks. And this didn't come out of nowhere. A few years ago, one video called "How I Tricked My Brain to Like Doing Hard Things, Dopamine Detox" exploded. It has over 28 million views. After that, everyone started talking about dopamine detoxes, like dopamine was the actual enemy. But here's the biggest myth. Everyone calls dopamine the pleasure chemical. That's simply not true. If dopamine was the pleasure chemical, how would you explain why people get addicted to slot machines at casinos? Because last time I checked, losing money isn't actually enjoyable. Well, that's because dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, but rather something else. Nobody enjoys leaving a casino broke, yet people happily keep pulling the lever while they're playing. That's because their brain are chasing the possibility of the next reward. So, if dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, then what is it? And why does your brain still refuse to do hard things? Well, dopamine's main role is predicting rewards, motivating you to chase them, and then it learns from the result. The secret that makes slot machines addictive is the random reward that you could get at any moment, so you keep spinning and your dopamine spikes. Want to know why you spend so much time looking at your phone? Because it was designed exactly like a slot machine. Every time you unlock your phone, your brain has no idea what's waiting. Maybe it's a funny TikTok, maybe someone tested you, maybe nothing happened. That uncertainty is exactly what dopamine loves, and scientists noticed this years ago. In the 1990s, neuroscientists Wolfram Schultz ran a series of experiments that explain exactly why this happened, and it showed that dopamine helps the brain predict rewards and react when those predictions are wrong. Here's the interesting part. Once you understand how dopamine works, your own behaviors start making a lot more sense. Dopamine follows 3 simple rules. If it's better than expected, your dopamine spikes. If it's exactly what you expected, almost no change. If it's worse than expected, your dopamine drops. That's why neuroscientist Ken Perry says dopamine is about wanting and not liking. Your brain doesn't release dopamine because you're enjoying something. It releases dopamine because it thinks something rewarding might happen, and it's exactly why you get addicted to your phone. In that case, if dopamine is the uncertainty chemical, why does it still prevent us to do anything that we want to? Well, it's because of something called the intention-action gap. Your brain loves to imagine the finished result, but when it gets you actually doing it, that's much harder. This gap is influenced by things like your emotion or stress. Contrary to popular belief, procrastination isn't really a time problem, but more of an emotional regulation problem. Your brain triggers avoidance before you even have time to respond. When a task feels boring or you don't know the reward, your brain emotional system denies putting in the effort, even if it's a project you got to do tomorrow. And let me tell you, willpower isn't saving you either. Knowing what you want to do and doing it are two very different things. The entire self-help industry has grown around closing in that gap, and while we now know more about exercise, nutrition and sleep than ever before, it's still not enough. When you plan on doing something, your brain starts overthinking and saying, I need to edit this 12-minute video, or I have to work 8 hours. If you notice, it's always overthinking how much effort you need to put into the task. Therefore, you do nothing, not because it's not worth doing, but because the struggle to do it is greater than the reward for doing it. Procrastination isn't all about laziness. We just made our current productivity system fight with an ancient reward system that evolved for entirely different purposes. And willpower alone rarely solves procrastination, because we're trying to override millions of years of brain evolution with sheer force. Psychologists have another name for this. They call it the variable rewards, and it's really relatable in real life. It says that you're not addicted to the pleasure of scrolling. Your brain just thinks that digital noise is a valuable resource. Algorithms are built to hijack your dopamine system by giving you unpredictable results. You don't know what video could be waiting next. That's why scrolling feels more rewarding than starting to work. So, if dopamine isn't the problem, what should you actually change? The answer isn't removing dopamine, it's removing the unnecessary uncertainty. How can we do it? Well, some studies suggest it can take up to 90 days for your dopamine receptor to recover after reducing high stimulation activities. So if you want to remove unnecessary uncertainty, I will do these 2 tricks. The first trick is identifying which behaviors are boosting your uncertainty. I'll give you some examples that I used to do all the time. The first one being infinite scroll time. You never know what video you'll stumble on. Second is compulsive email checking. Your brain is always saying, what if I miss on an opportunity? And to this, I thought the same was going to happen to me, but I realized that checking them every day in the morning is way more than enough to not miss anything. Finally, third is notification, and these are the hardest to do since we are addicted to knowing what's happening, but sacrificing your dopamine for a ping is not worth it. You don't need to abandon your phone entirely, you just have to cut the application and behavior exploiting your dopamine release. And the second trick to not fall again into dopamine is having a side hustle that doesn't revolve around RNG. Some examples of switches you can do are things like physical challenges, skill development, creative work, or even genuine social engagement. But if you're actually going to make a dopamine detox, take note on this. The first week is always the hardest. After that, it's just a slight breathe. If you're only going to take away something from this video, let it be this. Dopamine is the chemical in your brain responsible for motivation and trying to predict the future. You can't fully detox from it, but you can reduce your intake of dopamine by taking less uncertain options. The internet is full of gurus that try to trick you to buy things that are just straight trash or to rob you of your time so they get paid. But in this channel we do back information, so if you've enjoyed this video, I suggest you subscribe to the channel since you might not see me again. Maybe dopamine wasn't your enemy, maybe you just were fighting your own battle the entire time. If you've enjoyed this video, you might find the top one on my left interesting, or you could just let YouTube choose your destiny with the bottom one. In any case, thanks for watching, hope I'll see you in the next one.